Hey, SongTown, Clay Mills here with Marty, Dodson. Today we're going to talk about 5 things that we do if we started over today in our music careers.
Awesome.
You going to kick it off?
Yes. Number 1, and this took me way too long to figure out, but I would try to really get a grasp of my strengths and weaknesses early in the process. Mm-hmm. Because if I had done that, I could have more quickly started finding the kinds of co-writers that I needed. I could have elevated my game more quickly instead of just kind of fumbling around for a couple years and finally going, I'm better with lyrics and ideas than I am with melody. If I had known that earlier in the process, I could have advanced more quickly.
Yeah, imagine Bernie Taupin, who wrote all those great lyrics for Elton John, if he spent his time going, I've got to learn to play piano and sing. And I've got he was a world-class lyricist. Yeah. So he found a world-class musician. Together, they teamed up to co-write brilliant songs.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's my number 1.
All right.
What would number 2 be for you?
From me, number 2 would be find your tribe. So this became really apparent to me when I was having dinner with Skip Ewing one time at his house, and he had invited like 5 or 6 songwriters over. And everybody got to talking and joking, and there was all this witty banter going back and forth. And I was like, wow, these people talk like I talk. Like it made sense, the double entendres and it was like I'm at home. Like, this, and it just showed me that if you have people in your life sometimes that maybe don't understand why you're a songwriter, I had family and friends that were like, what are you doing? Till you have some kind of success at it, then they're questioning your whole right to exist as a songwriter, So I think it's important to have your tribe that you work with. And another reason, starting out, somebody told me early on when I started writing songs and wanting to be a songwriter, they said that people tend to come up together in groups. So if you find a group of people around you that you co-write with, or maybe you have a producer and you're writing, and then you have an artist friend, that you usually all rise up together. And we see it over and over in the music business. So I think that was really good advice. It happened to me like that. I don't know about you, but...
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The other side of that, too, is, and it took me a while to get this, is that not everybody is going to be the right fit to work with me. Yeah. There had been some big hit writers that I wrote with, and it just wasn't there. It wasn't fun. There was one instance where he was very rude and disrespectful, make fun of things I threw out, and I'm like, life's too short for this, And so I quit doing that. But, so part of finding your tribe is finding out what doesn't work, finding what does work and where it feels like you're home with your people. And then other places you can go, no, I just let that go. It does, it doesn't matter if it's a big opportunity, if it's not enjoyable, that's not my people,
Yeah. Publisher told me one time, he said, there's only 2 reasons you should write with somebody. Either you're having really good success with them, or you really enjoy their company. He's like, you only have to have one of those. Yeah. If you really enjoy writing with somebody, keep doing it. Then if you're having some success, maybe you're writing great songs with somebody, that doesn't really matter if you get along with them and you're best buddies, if the end result is something magical. Yeah. So one of those 2.
Yeah. The next one for me would be learn the proper ways to move up. I think we run into a lot of people who are wanting to write up, and we always say, well, if you're writing up, they're writing down, in that metaphor that you're using. But
Explain what writing up is.
So writing up would be writing with somebody, like when I started out, I really wanted to write with Tom Shapiro, but he had 50 top 10 hits and I had none. So I didn't really deserve to be in that room.
Right.
And so I had to figure out, well, if I want to get in that room, what's a way I can make that happen, And
so how did you do it? Because I know you wrote with Tom.
Yeah, so I didn't just go up and say, hey, Tom, you want to write sometime? I'm nobody with no success.
You know what that's like? It's like it's Thanksgiving Day. We just had Thanksgiving, so this is on my mind. You're sitting at the table, got ready to carve the turkey. Everybody's hungry, and you hear this knock on the door, and a total stranger's at the door going, can I have dinner with you guys? It's like, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
Like, it's that same kind of thing when you approach someone before you're ready for that opportunity. Yeah.
Well, what I did was I heard Tom at the coffee machine one day at this publishing company where I was writing with someone else. And he said, man, the hardest thing about being a hit songwriter is having a hit idea every day. And he said, if I had a hit idea every day, I could write a hit every day. And I thought, okay, that's the currency I could use to get into a co-write with Tom Shapiro. So I went home and I started working on ideas and researching if they were common ideas that had been written 5,000 times or, unique ideas. And I found an idea that had never been written, and it was very unique. And so I called him up and I said, hey, I've got this idea I think's really unique. Would you write it with me? And he instantly was like, what is it? And I told him, and he loved it. And we wrote it the next week, and it got cut on the Diamond Rio album that you had Beautiful Mess on.
What was the title?
It's called A Better Idea. It was the idea was that God made a man, then he had a better idea, and he made a woman.
The ladies like that.
Yes. And Tom said, well, I'm not sure I believe women are better than men. And I said, do you believe that would be a great song? And he said, yes. He said, I believe we can make money with that idea.
Because it's also the contrast.
Mm-hmm.
He made man, but then he made the woman, which is, so it has built-in contrast in that idea, which we talk a lot about in SongTown is contrast.
And what I learned from that experience was, Tom, even though we got that first song cut, he still was not looking for me to be his best buddy or in his regular rotation of co-writers. And I would use ideas to get into those, to write with him again. So, just learning that there's appropriate ways like that to move up. If I'm bringing an idea to somebody I don't deserve yet to write with, I'm offering them something of value. I'm not just asking for a handout, like, would you please write with me? So learning those appropriate ways to kind of move up the ladder and get into rooms that you'd like to be in. And so I started saving ideas for the writers that I wanted to write with that had more success than me, that kind of thing.
Perfect. Finding a mentor, that would be my next one. I know in my own career, I was fortunate that landed my first publishing deal, and my publisher took pity on me and hooked me up to write with a good friend of his who was a Hall of Fame songwriter. And I ended up writing a lot with Rory Burke. And I mean, he wrote classic songs, but he would teach me things in those writes. I don't think he knew that he was teaching me, but I was just soaking up the way he approached songs, the way he approached music, the way he approached, the lyric. And I just learned, I think, I would call him if I had an issue. Maybe I had an issue with a co-writer, and I'd say, hey, how would you handle this? Just those little things, they make a big difference. They take some of the pressure off of you because you know that person's already walked down that journey, and they can give you some insight and different insight than I would have come up with myself a lot of times.
And that's the kind of thing we try to pay forward when we mentor in SongTown.
Yes.
My first publisher was a Hall of Fame songwriter, and I didn't know going in that he was going to become a mentor to me. But man, his advice was invaluable. He saved me so much, so many mistakes that I would have made without him, and just having somebody that I trusted who could give me solid advice on my songs was amazing.
Yeah, especially on the songs. And, mentioning how we mentor at SongTown, a lot of times we come up with courses just from the questions that people email us. They'll go, hey, this band wants to cut my song. It's the first time anyone is asked to record one of my songs. What am I supposed to do next? And so we often get that question. It's like, okay, you got to register your songs here, and here. And, there's like, if you don't know, you don't know. So I think having a mentor or a place like SongTown where we can help you out anytime you have a question, I think it's invaluable.
Yeah, absolutely. Number 5 is I wish I had learned the business better and earlier,
Oh, man.
Because in the beginning, I had no idea what my contracts were that I was signing. And And, as time went on, I learned these things, and I would catch things sometimes that my lawyers missed in the contracts, But in the beginning, I made a bunch of mistakes just because I didn't understand how things worked, So there was one time when I had a big hit, and I owed my publisher like $123,000, and I got a check for $125,000 for the writer's portion. So I knew that they got $125,000. So I went in, I was all excited. I said, "Hey, I recouped." And they're like, "No, that's our money. You got to pay us back with your money, not our money." And I didn't know that. And I was deflated because of that. I thought, oh, finally I'm recouped this catalog. No.
I know one time I was writing for Barbara Orbison's company. She was the widow to Roy Orbison. They had a great publishing company. And I had like a string of hits, and it came time to renegotiate my contract. And they're like, "Well, you still owe us like $500,000. And I'm like, "But you've made like $2 or $3 million off of these hits."
Mhm.
Like, "Well, that's not the way it works." And it was like, oh, so I know exactly that feeling.
So just understand, if you're going to be in the business side of it, then learning the business is crucial.
Yes.
There's a book called The Straightforward Guide to the Music Biz
Mhm.
that we could put maybe a link to in the chat, but that is a good introduction to how it all works. But there's a lot of books out there that you can read. You can consult with a music entertainment attorney, things like that. But it's important to know what you're signing and what's going on with your songs and where the money goes and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. All right, guys. Like, comment, subscribe. We appreciate you watching. Cheers.
See you soon.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you appreciate the content, hit the subscribe button and help us grow. Shout out to Sweetwater Music. It's where Marty and I get all our musical gear. Great people. We'll see you guys around town. Right on.